Today we're talking about 3 main mistakes that you're making when you're stretching and one significant concept that's going to completely change your perception of how you stretch from here on out. What's up, guys? I'm Jeff PELIZZARO from 18 Strong, and we're talking about stretching today. I don't know how many times you've done it, but we've all stretched out our hamstrings, or we've had these chronic tight muscles that we've been working on for years and years. I see it all the time with clients that come here in the gym, and they're doing several things wrong when they're trying to attack this inflexibility, or what we would like to call a lack of mobility. And the reason that it's not working is because of one big concept, and that concept is the fact that there's a protective response from your brain down to your muscles that's not allowing you to get past that tightness, to get past that muscle that you want to get lengthened out. And that protective response is there for a reason. So think about it this way. Think of your mobility, the amount that you're able to move under control, as kind of like your line of credit from the bank. Your brain, much like the banker, has to know that you can handle whatever that line of credit is. And so your brain's not going to allow you to stretch further than you have. It's not going to allow you to go past that line of credit without knowing that you're safe and that you're protected beyond that length or beyond that line of credit. Unlike if somebody wins the lottery, they get thrown a bunch of money, they have no guidance, no guarding, no protection there, and they just blow through it all, and they end up hurting themselves, much like you would if you went past your allotted mobility. You're going to hurt yourself. So that's what happens when we strain a muscle, tear a muscle. We go past that allowance of stretch, and we end up hurting ourselves. So here's what we're going to do. The way you bypass that protective response, telling your brain, I'm safe, I'm okay. It's kind of like a governor on a golf cart. You have to tell your brain to understand that your body is safe when you're doing this stretch or this routine that you're trying to improve your ability to move. There's 3 main ways to do that. The first way is, first of all, just to hold it for a longer period of time. Now, we've all done the stretches before our games, whether you grew up playing soccer like I did or football or whatever, and we would do these stretches and we would hold for 10 seconds, 15 seconds or whatever, and we would expect to see ourselves get more flexible. That doesn't necessarily work. In fact, it doesn't work. We've even had people I've had people that go to a complete business that is set up just to stretch you. And the problem is you don't get nearly enough time spent on the active stretching piece, or the piece of them stretching you. They don't stretch that muscle group long enough. And then there's also some other issues with that where you're not creating any of that active motion yourself. But for this specific point, not holding it long enough doesn't give your brain the amount of time to understand that it's safe. So think about the 2-minute rule. 2 minutes is basically the amount of time that your brain is going to need to really understand that your body is safe. So let's use the hamstrings, for instance. We tend to see people, throwing their foot up on, a block or a bar or something, a bench, and they'll stretch and do that for a few seconds, and then they'll come up and they'll stretch again, and then they come down, they switch sides, thinking that they're getting a lengthening of the muscle that's going to last. And I've seen people that do this kind of all throughout the day even. The problem is, if you don't give your muscle enough time to chill out and your brain enough time to say, all right, cool, I understand we're in a safe condition, I'm going to let you relax and I'm going to let you lengthen out a little bit more. So think of the 2-minute rule when you're thinking about your stretches. That's the amount that the brain needs to kind of go under that chill factor mode. The second piece is breathing. Too many times when we're in a stretch, we get to that point where we're stretching out and you're just gritting your teeth and you're grunting and you're pushing as hard as you possibly can. Well, what's happening here is you're really kind of creating the opposite effect of what you want when you're doing a stretch. Your body, in order to allow the tissue to relax and to lengthen, your body needs to relax. If you're pushing as hard as you can, you're actually creating a reflexive response for your body to tense up and fight whatever you're doing. So you're, in effect, you're creating this, what we would call a sympathetic response. So we've got the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is that fight or flight. So when you're pushing and you're gritting and you're not breathing, or you're breathing real hard, you're creating that sympathetic response of, I'm ready to fight. I'm gonna hold on to the death. That's not what you want when you're stretching. You want to relax as much as possible. Best way to do that is to, while you're holding that 2 minutes, work on your breathing. Nice, smooth inhales in through your nose and out through your nose. That's something we'll talk about another day, but from this point on, I want you to think about breathing in and out of your nose, not out of your mouth. But take your time, nice, smooth breaths in, nice, smooth breaths out. They don't have to be big, huge breaths, but take slow, long breaths. So think 5 seconds or even longer than that, both on the way in and on the way out. As you're stretching, and I'm just using the hamstrings as an easy example here. This kind of goes for almost every area of the body that you want to stretch. But as you're stretching, you're going to feel yourself, as you're breathing, you kind of breathe in and breathe out, you're going to feel yourself almost kind of like melting into that position. You're going to feel that the muscles stretching and lengthening without all of that tension, without all of that grit. And by doing this, you're turning on what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. That's more the chill out mode. That's more the relax. That's the candles in the background, the soft jazz, playing. That's you really chilling out, and your body's going to be able to then relax. So those are the first two. Letting yourself take a lot longer time to do this, and then working on your breathing. Now, the biggest way to make sure that you then create that lengthened change is now the third thing, you got to get stronger. You have to teach your brain, your body, that you are strong in that new range of motion, or that the muscles around that muscle group are also strong. So again, that protective sense. So it's almost like by building up your strength around. So let's say for the hamstrings, the surrounding musculature is going to be your hip flexors, your quads, your abdominal muscles, your glutes, your rotators, all of these muscles. The stronger those are, the more protected. Think of, they're like bodyguards. The more protected the hamstrings are going to be, the pelvis, everything going on down there is going to be more secure, and your brain's going to be like, all right, cool, you're safe, I'm going to let you stretch out a little bit more. Then the key is to get those hamstrings stronger in that new range of motion. Ways to do that would be hamstring curls, deadlifts, where you're actually working on the stretch and the strengthening at the same time. So you're getting that lengthening and the strengthening at the same time. You're getting some core strength. So there's a lot of different exercises. We'll talk about some other exercises in future videos on how to then gain some strength in that new range of motion, as well as some of the surrounding musculature. But for the time now, just remember the 3 things you need to do to really make gains on your mobility is, first, hold your stretches a lot longer. Number 2 is work on the breathing. Make it nice and smooth and slow and relaxed, and feel that melting sensation. And then number 3, probably the most important for the long-term change, is to then make sure you get stronger. So that's where we can really help. Not only can we help with you just learning how to stretch better, but with the strength piece. If you need help with your strengthening for your golf game, and just really for everyday life, but as a golfer, we know that there are certain things that you need to be strong in, certain areas that need to move well. That's what 18 Strong is all about. We've got a 7-day free trial over in our 18 Strong membership app. Just go to 18strong.com. You can check it out for free for 7 days. If you like it, we've got all the strength training programs in there that we have. We've got plenty of other resources in there, all for you to get stronger, to play better golf. We want you to move more, we want you to move really well, and we want you to stay strong.